This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by trainer Shane McGuigan here in London Trains. Good to see you. Happy New Year. How was your festive period?
Happy New Year to you too. Yeah, it was right. Had a few days off. Obviously got Caroline boxing this weekend. Ellie's boxing on the 25th and Adam's boxing on the 1st. So everyone was in camp.
Is that a difficult one? Obviously, it's something you're used to throughout your career, but giving up that festive period, especially now you're a father, is making things a little bit more difficult, not spending as much time at home as you'd like?
Maybe next year. I mean, my lad's like 2 years and 4 months old, and then I've got another one that's 7 months old. So they're not quite Santa crazy yet. But obviously, when he's a little bit more aware of Santa and all that sort of stuff, then yeah, it might make it more challenging. But it's the role you take, isn't it?
Do we see Shane McGuigan? Well, we don't necessarily see it, but will you be dressing up as Santa, going down, taking him milk and cookies in the middle of the night?
Yeah, I worked it out with my missus the other day. So it's like from 3, I think I was like 7 when I stopped believing in Santa. So like you don't have a lot of time. 4 years, four trips. I mean, obviously I've got younger ones and that, but like just with that first kid, like you just think to yourself like, you got to go full in.
Shane, just before we come on to Azim, Caroline Dubois and all of your fighters, we've just seen Opetaia stop David Nyika in the 4th round, a stunning finish, a fan-friendly fight up until that point. What did you make of it?
I saw glimpses. I saw I think it was the second and third, and then obviously the finish. He's a phenomenal puncher, explosive puncher. I think Nyika was doing the right thing, trying to close him down, but at the same time, it's at your own risk because you could walk into something. Nyika was just a massive jump up in class from what he's used to. Like it's a completely different level. He never had no acid tests, no fights that like Isaac Chamberlain, that British level, European level, things like that. Do you know what I mean? Like he just straight into the deep end against the Ring Magazine and IBF World Champion. So it's a big ask.
Given obviously your recent exploits with Chris and Zurdo Ramirez, there's going to be a lot of talk now about Zurdo and Opetaia facing each other next. Opinion changed at all from what you said to me in Saudi that you still believe back then that Opetaia would beat Zurdo? But
I think Opetaia beats him with his feet. I think styles make fights. I think Chris obviously is an attacking, aggressive fighter. I think he would have in spells. He was having success, but Zurdo's just really relaxed and calm in there. But actually, Zurdo's better. He's better when guys walk into him. Whereas I think he'll have to go and get Opetaia. Opetaia will be sharper than him on the distance, and he'll have to press it a little bit more. So, Zurdo's great at just adjusting his feet, but he's just not necessarily fast foot. He's very efficient with his movement, and he leans back well. He's got all these little tricks and stuff, but if you give him the chance to be able to set his feet so he can ride the shots and bump and pull off and do all of that sort of neat, sneaky stuff on the inside, is what he was doing with Chris, then he's really effective. But I think if you're getting him to actually attack you, I don't think, I think he's not sharp enough on the first shot. Opetaia's really, really sharp in that first shot. Much more of a amateur sort of style. And he'll be just like Bivol did. He'll be able to just take his attacks away from him. And I just think Opetaia will beat him on points.
So away from all things Opetaia, Azim, the reason we're here, Sergey Lipinets. This fight, Shane, why do you feel like it's the right step, the right development fight for his next chapter in his career?
Because he's there, isn't he? I know O'Hara wasn't, in his prime, but I think he'd have done that to O'Hara Davies every day of the week when he was in his prime, because O'Hara would have tried more. I think you're going to see the best out of Azim whenever guys actually come to win. Sergey Lipinets is a former world champion, former IBF world champion, been in there with the likes of Boots and good names, Mike Garcia and that. And I think those are the fights that's where Sergey Lipinets thinks his level is. So he's going in there with a winning mentality. And I think once you get someone with a winning mentality that's just at the right stage of their career, I think it's enough of a test, but at the same time it can allow Adam to look explosive and I think if Adam's not on point, it's a hard night's work. He could get beaten. But I think when Adam's 100%, he's on point. I think he can blitz him. So it's one of them. And you need to keep somebody on their toes. You need to keep somebody, if he wants to be a world champion, he needs to beat people like Sergei Lipinets. Because when you get up to the top, you have to defend your belts, not just win a belt. So you have to, you're gonna have to box all styles. So he's boxed awkward guys. Like O'Hara was awkward, sitting back, can punch. One thing about O'Hara, he's got world-class power. This guy's more aggressive. He's got very good power. Puts shots together in combinations. Different style, different look. But you're going to have those little tests about everybody. Josh Taylor had tests like O'Hara Davies. He had tests like Postal. He had more, hands up, high peekaboo style. So, and then obviously he boxed Baranchek. So when you win the world title, you've seen different looks, and then you have to go and be able to defend and beat them at the top level.
There's always been an adamant mindset amongst the team that Adam Azim will be a future world champion, so provided this fight goes to plan. How far off do you feel like that will be for him? A year, 18 months, sooner?
Such a stacked division, so we can't really say, but I am more convinced now that he's going to be a superstar. I'm more convinced now than ever, from what I'm seeing, because it's clicking. Do you know what I mean? Obviously that last fight, there was like, O'Hara was supposed to wear Powerlocks gloves. He changed them to Grant's, which is like a really dangerous puncher's gloves. He's a puncher. Adam took the fight to him, closed the gap against the puncher. Put himself. He could have stood back and just jabbed his head off for 12 rounds. But what's that going to do? He went to go and knock him out and stop him, and he had to go and attack him and beat him up. And everyone's like, "Whoa, he's changed." No, he's not. This is what he's been doing in the gym. He's just not had the. He's not been forced to do that. And I think, he's getting more calculated with his shots on the inside. He's not loading up as much on the inside. He's putting his shots together in combinations more. He's whipping the body better. He's more settled there. It's you don't know if they're going to really take to it until they start really, you can teach him it, but when it starts clicking, and he's been in the gym now, nearly 4 years? So it's now, now it's where he can transfer that spars to the fights. And I believe that all of those years banked and logged is just gonna be showcased this year in 2025, because he's going to have to go up the ladder and box really good opposition.
You mentioned obviously at the world scene, it stacked them, all the world champions. Very difficult fights for Adam, not necessarily an easy give me, if you will. What do you think's the best route for him when you consider those guys who currently hold the world titles, the likes of Richardson, Hitchens, Teofimo Lopez, Valenzuela, fourth one, skip mine. That's an eliminator, Barboza. Catchall, that's for the WBO eliminator.
Okay, I just believe there's no easy route really. I mean, Richard Hitchens is a good fighter. He obviously beat Paro, who beat the man, which Subriel Matisse. So you're going to have to box different styles. I know. It's nice to be able to be in a position that you can go, he can beat that style. He can beat this style, because where Adam was when he turned pro, you would have had to go a specific route, whereas now I feel like he's so much more complete as a fighter, and that's what that whole period's about. This whole just what seen with David Nyika, that you just don't jump up in class. When you get there, you've got to be able to beat different styles. You've got to be able to fight at different ranges. Attack when you need to, box when you need to. And I think he's got it all. So whichever governing body gives us the opportunity, I think we'll have to take that option first.
Caroline Dubois' return on Saturday. Shane talked about this fight. What are you hoping to see from her, and kind of how happy you are as a team that she has been elevated to WBC full champion?
Yeah, I mean it's a bittersweet really, because you want to win it with a fight, but obviously she's beaten everybody that she needed to beat, and she was interim champion waiting on Katie Taylor to vacate, and Eddie didn't want to vacate at all. He just wanted to just keep her holding her belts, but Mauricio did the right thing and said she has a time frame where she had to defend against her mandatory, which was the interim champion in Caroline Dubois, and they chose to vacate. I'm not saying she's running away from Caroline Dubois, I'm saying that was the option, and obviously she got elevated, but she's seeing this fight against Jessica Kamara as her world title fight, not defending her world title, which I think is the right mindset to go into. You're going in there thinking, I'm still a challenger, I need to win it, and Kamara's obviously had defeats, but she's boxed at the world level at 140, and she's ranked, I think, 1 or 2 in the weight division above in WBC. So it's definitely a tough test.
Provided again she comes through on Saturday, what is next? Is it looking at those big names? Is there a confidence that one of those big names in around 130 to 140, maybe even somebody from 147 if to come down? Because we know that the women fighters around those weights have fluctuated recently. Do you think that we do see one of those girls in there with Caroline next?
Yeah, I mean, we'd obviously like the Terry Harper fight because she's a world champion as well. I don't know, but I'm sure they, where do they go with Terry Harper really? She's been beaten a few times before. They're not going to invest a lot of money into sort of trying to reinvigorate her career. She's obviously got a win against Rhiannon Dixon, who's come from the unlicensed sort of. She's not an established fighter, so they're not going to think that she's suddenly going to be generating millions and millions of pounds. So I think they just want to keep her there for the next world champion. Maybe Beatrice or something can box Harper. But at the end of the day, we got a potential to box in on the Royal Albert Hall on the women's night, and I think that will be where we've set our sights, and hopefully we can get a unification fight.
I have to ask you as well, Shane, Ellie Scotney, she finally got a date. A frustrating year last year. How would you sum it up? What would you put it down to as to why maybe she wasn't more active, or at least certainly more active as to what she would have liked?
Yeah, she suffered an injury. So she suffered a tear of her calf and was frustrated. We tried to keep that date alive where she could have boxed, but she couldn't do any running, and she's, it just wasn't. We had to discuss it. So there was options where she could have boxed. Unfortunately, her body just chose against it. But she's in a fantastic place now. Weight's really good. She sparred 10 rounds yesterday. She just pads with me this morning. She's sparring again tomorrow. So she's in a great place, and I think this opponent, obviously being an unbeaten girl, a couple of stoppages on a record, very aggressive. Miyamoto, she's very aggressive. She really comes to you. I think this is going to really force Ellie to be 100% of herself. She's been very complacent in her fights before, from what we've seen in sparring, because she spars at such a top level and such a high standard. And then when she gets into the fights, it's like she just hasn't performed the way she could perform, and I think this opponent is going to bring that out of her, where she knows that she needs to be 100% to beat this girl. She can't be 80, so she's to be 100%, and I think that's where we're going to see the best version of her.
Just a few away from the gym to ask you about, Shane. Last time I saw you was in Saudi for Usyk-Fury 2. Alexander having his hand raised that night. A lot of talk. Is now the time for Fury Joshua? Do you think we see it next? And if so, what do you think would happen?
I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense I mean, there's always going to be huge interest. It's just frustrating that they didn't box, when AJ was, just before the Usyk fight, and they had that deal on the table, and Eddie decided to take the Alexander Usyk fight in the meantime. This is the way it works, and I think that there's a loss of attention on it, but people will always be like, but if AJ had boxed him before he got knocked out by Daniel Dubois, or before he got beaten by Usyk, he would have had more confidence and he could have beaten him. And Fury's, whatever. It's just be a load of ifs and maybes and all that sort of stuff. So will it really solve the puzzle of what we've been trying to solve the whole time? Who wins? Is it the best version of themselves? I don't think so. So, but from a monetary standpoint, they don't need it. They've both got enough money to live, I'm sure, very, very comfortably. So what's really what's going to make this fight? It's going to be ego, and who believes in himself the most. And I think maybe Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury he can look at his losses and say, I feel like he come away from that fight thinking he won by 3 rounds. I mean, we all thought he lost. I mean, I don't know if anyone else, like you did, but well, you need to go and rewatch it. He lost. He lost. So he lost, but he didn't lose. He didn't get knocked out, and he can look at the positives of that. Whereas AJ got knocked out. So what positives can he take off that last performance? yes, he's been in there and sparred Tyson Fury, so he can probably go in there with confidence. But I know for a fact Tyson's not a guy that really gets up for sparring. So I just think they're both nowhere near fresh. They're not at their best, but Fury probably has enough about him to defend him off. Even though Usyk thinks that Joshua will beat him.
Beterbiev-Bivol 2, repeat or revenge?
I think it'll be revenge. I think Bivol can look at that fight and think where he could have, he fought in spells. I scored it to a Beterbiev. Just felt he was more consistent. Feel like if Bivol had have pressed it a little bit more, because he was pressing it in bursts, but then he was going off. He was taking long breathers, and it wasn't like he was tired. He probably thought he was in control and winning. Whereas you have to win. When you're in an undisputed fight, you have to win as many seconds of every round as possible. And I think he'll look at that and think, I can beat this guy. And I think once again it might favour the fresher man.
Last one from me, Shane. David Benavidez and David Morrell on February 1st, same night as Adam's fight. Who do you think is going to come out on that one? Because it's a very intriguing matchup.
I'm a massive fan of Morrell. I think he's brilliant. What's his acid test? I know he stepped up very, very quickly, but Benavidez is someone that fights at pace, throws combinations, is in your face, can take a shot, he can dig. That slick Cuban style, he's going to suffocate that. He's going to suffocate him. Whether it'll be, he'll get pinged about for a few rounds, but I think he'll prevail and get to him. But I'm excited about it. I just think maybe there's a bit more dog in Benavidez.
Shane, I appreciate your time as always. Good luck on Saturday. I'm sure I will see you in Sheffield. Thanks for speaking to me in Boxing News.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.